It's Wednesday, my dudes, and that means it's time for another episode of the Gift of Gaming podcast. This one's a doozy, and by that I mean we're talking about games we just didn't really like. Okay, it's me, your host, Darren Wade, on the Gift of Gaming podcast. They just can't get rid of me. Because it's my thing. It's what I do. But today I'm joined by none other than the Nolan brothers, Colm and Craig. Fellas, how the hell are you?
Are we supposed to answer at the same time, like in unison?
I would prefer if you did the whole podcast where the two of you just talked over each other the whole time as one entity. That
if
would
we
be
just
amazing.
talk, we have a similar voice as well, so it may be hard to differentiate enough.
If you guys just make sure you're, it was like, hey Colm or hey Craig, you know. I'll put in a little transcript.
Introducing us as the brothers and then expecting us to talk as one is not the best way to get our opinions.
No, that's true.
I would also be a little bit more positive how I talk about things. So
that's true.
If it's being pretty critical, then it's probably Craig.
I'll take that.
Although this is about games that are
bad.
The worst in their franchise or series, so
good
we're
luck
gonna have to get a bit
positive.
negative, absolutely.
I mean, I got positive things to say about the games in the series that were good, but not about the game that I didn't like.
Throw a dog a bone type of thing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
give them something,
I didn't think of that. I was just gonna go down hard on these things,
So before we get into it, guys, I ask every week if you're playing anything different. Craig, I know you're hook, line, and sinker into Stardew Valley after all our Stardew Valley talk.
Big time, Darren. I started last week and I've already started year 2. I just was diving headfirst into this thing. But I think I'm reaching the end now of all the things I've bought and can get, other than the 1.5 update, which I'm not sure how sizable it is. But unless that can keep me going for another week, I consider myself quite close to the end.
Was that the chocolate thing?
So I think Content Chocolatier is its own thing. I don't know if that's a DLC, but the Stardew Valley 1.5 has the Ginger Island update.
Okay.
Which might not give you a full week, but I'll give you a good bit of extra.
Right, well, that's something to look forward to, I guess.
I'll give you 2 nights worth of content.
But it's such an exciting time to be a gamer. I have Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, which I barely touched just because I'm so into Stardew. We have Final Fantasy and Zelda coming up, so it's just a really great time to be a video game player.
Absolutely. Yeah, probably too good a time. I don't know how I'm going to get through all these things. Colin, what have you been playing?
Well, I've been taking a little bit of a break from Stardew Valley, and I've been focused more on Advance Wars. But so Craig is also doing the same as I am, but he's kind of going more for Advance Wars 2 right off the bat.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Advance Wars 1 at all. I skipped immediately to Advance Wars 2.
Well, so you did the same thing with Mass Effect 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, I did the exact same thing there as well.
So, I feel if you go to number 2, you're not going to ever go back to 1. So if I'm going to play both of them, I'm going to start with 1, go into
But
the
I
second
started
one,
with Mass Effect 1 and started with Advance Wars 1. But by the 5th mission, when they're do you know how to use ships? I was like, you already asked me this in the previous mission. I know how to use ships. And then she just guides you through it anyway. I'm like, this game is clearly for younger fans, even though all the war and battle and stuff like that, but they're geared towards a younger audience. But I wish you could just skip that stuff.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about it, because we've all gotten it now, and it's probably one that we'd consider for a games club, just to give a little quick review on how that game has been. But I was so disappointed by the delay. I understand
it completely now that I've replayed it and seen how kiddie friendly it is. They're playing as though war is nothing. And I can see, because this game is a U rating or whatever for everyone, or E, whatever it's called. So the target audience is very young people, and they're talking about war as if it's a joke. And is that, so I can understand why they took that.
The animation, so that opening animation's brand new, right?
Yeah.
So that's almost like a call to arms, that opening scene, because you've got Max, Andy, and Sammy all doing their thing, and it's the sirens go off and there's a big call to war.
Yeah.
So after seeing that, because I was so disappointed, I was like, there's Calls of Duty's coming out still with the war in Ukraine and everything. I was like, why would they delay something as cartoonish and
Call of Duty is an 18s game.
Yeah,
where,
that's exactly it.
That's the distinction.
I watched the opening of Advance Wars, and I was like, oh my God, this is like the US Army wants you, children. And I was like, that makes total sense now, but it's been great. People have bought into it lots. It's really popular. And I think the development team kind of released a message to say that they were overwhelmed and overjoyed that people still went and bought it after such a long delay. But yeah, that's class. I myself have done a few missions in that, but I've locked into Horizon Forbidden West, The Burning Shores. Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, because I've been playing a bit of Stardew Valley, and then I was playing a bit of Kingdom Hearts Memory of Melodies, all very simply graphic things. I've been on a really big Switch buzz of late, and then to go and move from that into like what the PS5 is capable of, I was sitting there going, this game is just so beautiful, so well done. So I'm only about, I'd say 10% through that game, but it's been a joy so far. It's everything I love about Horizon, just
it's just more of it. Get into it next. Yeah.
Just more of it. So I guess we'll crack into this week's episode. And for our listeners, we decided this week we'd look at series of games that we enjoyed, but kind of focusing on the worst game in that series. That's kind of what we decided on, pretty much, right?
I think so.
Yeah. The worst game in a series, essentially. That's going to be the title of this episode, all right? So we looked at kind of the series that we really enjoyed playing and kind of just focused on either the weakest or what was just a really, really bad game within that series. So, Colm, you actually said you had a couple of predictions for what you thought me and Craig would pick. And I'm interested.
Right.
Yeah. I'm interested to see if you actually got... Now, I'm not going to say yes or no until I actually get to it, but I'm interested in what your...
Even if he gets it right, I might just lie.
Excellent. All right. Well, I do have 4 predictions. 3 of them I was like, we'll go with this. And then the 4th one, I'm thinking less Darren, but more Craig might have selected it.
Okay.
So my first one, this is more towards Darren, and it's Mass Effect Andromeda.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
He definitely got that right.
Yeah. The second one, it would have been, and I'll ask you this open question. Is there a Kingdom Hearts game that is a card-based battle system?
Yes.
What's that called?
Chain of Memories.
That's what I predict for you.
Okay.
I was going to say every handheld Kingdom Hearts game ever existed.
Yeah, well, I have that actually written down, like any of the DS or PSP.
The 3DS, the PSP game and the 3DS game were actually decent.
What about the Game Boy Advance and the phone game? And
awful. All of them were awful. Yeah.
So I'll just leave it like, just the shit ones, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Generally speaking. This one's more for Craig, and it's based on a kind of tirade you went on based on the Harry Potter one, and that is Arkham Origins. Batman, yeah? That's the third one?
That's your third one?
No, that's the third one in that series.
Origins is the third one in the...
Yeah, okay, so that's the one I mean anyway. And then the very last one, which is the prediction more so for you again, and that is Dead Space 3.
Interesting choice.
He actually did get one of them. Yeah. I'm a little annoyed at that, but so I'm going to open with that one as my go-to.
Well, then take it away. I'm going to keep mine close to my chest until I'm actually giving the answers.
So Arkham Origins was the game.
Nice. 10 points to Colm.
I said that on air during the Harry Potter episode, so that's bullshit. But yeah, Arkham Origins was a massive disappointment for me, mainly because I loved Arkham Asylum. I thought it was one of the best games of that year, my game of the year, whatever year it was. And then like Arkham City just brought it to the next level. You had the big open city, you could grapple, glide everywhere, go anywhere, do anything. And for the 4th game, when these guys came back in charge, then they introduced the Batmobile, and you could call it in at any time and just drop down in, like you could be flying through the sky, hold L1, and Batman would dive bomb into the Batmobile.
That's pretty
Arkham Origins introduced electricity gloves. And that's it. I had a nice, interesting story with the Joker. They did his origin. But in terms of the mechanics and gameplay you could do, it was identical to Arkham City in every way and added nothing new. Like, they copied and pasted the entire game and its assets and then added nothing creatively to the game, So Asylum introduced all the villains, all the core aspects, and City made it massive. And then... the 4th game added all these things with the Batmobile and even a bigger story. But the 3rd game, which was a different studio, and they didn't have the Mark Hamill as the voice actor. They didn't have Kevin Conroy.
That was going to say, because, if it's got... And you said Joker's kind of the main villain, right?
No, he's not. So it's supposed to... And the best part of the game was that it had a kind of twist, which I won't spoil, but... The Joker is in it when you don't think he's supposed to be. But obviously everyone knew the Joker was going to be in the game. Yeah. But you don't think he's going to be in it. The Black Mask is the main villain for a while. And then you're just kind of like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
And then eventually he gets put in his place, as he should. And the game kind of continues on with the Joker. But it's just... gameplay-wise, after 5-6 hours, you're just like, man, I've just beaten up so many bad guys and done nothing else. It's just wave after wave of enemy. And you go to the next wave after wave of enemy, and I'm just like, I'm gaining absolutely nothing from this. And it's such a disappointment because Asylum was so good, City was so good. And when the studio eventually came back and did Arkham Knight, they knocked it out of the park. You know, with a fantastic finish.
In its defense at all, not that I've played it, but it's called Arkham Origins, so I'm assuming it's based as a prequel to everything, right?
Yes, but it's an Arkham game. So the same company that made Arkham Origins did Gotham Knights, which, as you all know, was an absolute disaster.
Yeah,
you know?
enough said.
But these guys were given the reins for the Arkham game when the other studio weren't able to do it. I can't remember what the reason were. I think they were just working on another project. But under their rule, we lost Mark Hamill, we lost Kevin Conroy, we lost everything interesting about the game. All creativity was thrown out the window.
But you got some electric gloves.
We got some electric gloves that when you hit them, they kind of went zzz. And then they fell over, I assume. I don't know.
And in terms of the gameplay style, because I mean, if you have a new team coming in, you could
they copied and pasted it as best they could.
Okay.
So it's fine. If you didn't play Arkham City, it'd be a decent game. But if you did play Arkham City, you're playing the same game, only worse, with a worse story and no new mechanic, nothing to be excited about, you know? So yeah, for that, I'm still salty about it. And they've only shot themselves in the foot with this Gotham Knights game. So now everyone knows how bad they are.
And if you were to, let's say, your favorite game in the Arkham series,
it's City. Yeah.
What would you give that out of 10?
I give City a 9 out of 10.
And where does Origins fall on that ranking out of 10? Like how bad are we talking here from the best to the worst?
It's still a copy and paste of a great game. So similar to how I said Hogwarts Legacy was still good because, you know, it's still got the foundations of a good game. Just
great IP.
Someone else's work, you know? So it's still a 6 because it should have been a 9.
So not a bad game, but the worst game in the series.
The worst game in the series.
And that's what we're doing today, guys.
That's what we're doing today. When you have one of the greatest series of all time, this was a massive downgrade. You know, you have 9, 9, 6, 9, you know, in terms of 10 out of 10 games.
So not a bad game, but just the worst in its...
But I'm still salty about it, as you can see.
Yeah, because didn't get it. Colm, if I were to ask you, just boom, you got a game series that you love and someone stuck some poo in there. It's a real pooey game.
Yeah. Okay.
What's your one?
So just based on how you asked me that question, I was going to talk about a different one, but how you asked me that, I've just like switched over to the other one that I have to get off my chest.
Okay.
I'm going to need your help for it because honestly, I don't remember a whole lot about the game other than it made me feel unwell. No, and you'll understand why this is. So as we've discussed on the podcast many times with multiple people who have all discussed it in their own right. So Final Fantasy is a pretty beloved series within like not just us, but like, you know, RPG fans in general. So it would be very easy for me to just want to like go and attack Final Fantasy 12 because I don't like that game.
It's terrible.
However,
that's not the one you picked.
That is, of course, not the one I picked. I chose the worst game in the Final Fantasy series.
Can I raise my hand and see if I get the answer?
You can, of course.
Is it 10-2?
It is, in fact, 10-2.
Damn, I knew the answer, so I couldn't put my hand
up. It was in my honorable mentions for sure. But yes, let's get into that awful game.
So, you know how, like, when I first got that game, you obviously played 10 because why would you play 10-2 without having ever played 10?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So by the end of the game, you know, some pretty awesome shit happens, and then the story concludes, and then you're like, okay, cool. Here's my new introduction to my characters that I like last saw doing some pretty awesome shit without spoiling 10.
But I mean, that's... We say no spoilers, but I think, I mean, what year is 10?
Who said no spoilers? We can spoil whatever we want.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm in agreement. I think we should spoil. So
it's way more fun.
Yeah. If you haven't played 10 and you want to, and you don't want it spoiled, stop listening now for a couple of minutes. But
it's a terrible game.
Okay.
Like, no, they don't. They shouldn't play it.
No. But he's talking about 10.
10. Sorry.
Because I think what's important to your point about, and we'll get into how bad 10-2 is, but 10's ending is such a strong, and what I would consider a bit of a brave ending in terms of, you know, what they do to your main characters. Do you know what I mean? That like, that, you know, Orin, who's an amazingly strong character, and Tidus, who you play as through the entire game, you know, it's like the Sixth Sense, you know? They've been dead the whole time, or they've just been waiting to pass on, and that's what you finish on. And then Colm, they gave us 10-2.
And so just the intro to 10-2. Do you remember the scene with Yuna?
Yep.
Where she just like walks into a massive stadium and then just starts dancing around the place, and like you're like, oh, this is like a different tone.
But that's because she inherited the dress sphere of a dead person from 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into it.
So the grid
like, you know?
sphere of like the old game just like stopped working. Is that actually what happened in the story? And they're just like, dress spheres.
No, so I think...
They changed the combat completely.
Yeah, so it's all based on dress spheres. But I think the person who's singing isn't actually Yuna, if I remember correctly. It's someone who's an imposter, right? So Yuna isn't, because
no, she's got the spirit of the dress sphere inside her, like. You know, I remember the story quite well. I actually finished the game despite it being so bad.
Okay, he's the only one here.
That's why I needed Craig to help me with this, because the ending of that game, and we're going to spoil this one because it's crap, but there's like 2 choices you can make, right? There's like, you can go with the
there's multiple
the Grand
endings for
Maester,
sure.
the monks, and then there's maybe the Albed or like some second sect or faction.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 factions.
There's 2 factions, yeah. There's the new Temple of Yevon or whatever, and then there's the Crusaders.
And they're both just these hot guys that just want to like get with Yuna, and you're like, oh, I have to choose one of these douches. Like, I just want Titus. Why is he not here?
Yeah. And from a combat perspective, it's a pity, because I think the combat in the game was actually a lot of fun.
It's pretty decent, because the dress spheres was a good idea,
it's
because
a
it
job
essentially
system.
gave you the job system back, except anyone could switch job at any time, and narratively it would make sense. Like, she's not a white mage just becoming a warrior all of a sudden, you know, like, it doesn't seem stupid. It's just a kind of glow effect that kind of changes.
And it was, as a person who all of my if I were to give my top 5 Final Fantasies, a lot of them in that top 5 are the ones that had the original job system, like the old games that I love so much, you know, and that worked quite well. But it was splashed in with all this. It was just nonsense. Just
no,
really,
it's just because it's a very lazy game. Because, I mean, outside of the assets in Final Fantasy X, there's very few new locations at all. Like, even sets, bosses. You're just fighting all the same enemies, going to the same places. Like, they just, again, like in Arkham City, they copied and pasted everything, you know?
It was such a fun moment when I discovered that 10.2 was as bad as it ended up being. So I played through 10, so did my brother. Not Andrew's on the podcast, my other brother, and he played through 10. We both loved it. And 10.2 was announced. We didn't watch anything for it. We're like, cool, we'll figure out what happened to Titus. This is going to be great. And I'll never forget, two of us sat down. He put it into the PlayStation 2, turned on the television, played it for a couple hours. And there's a scene where you have to race as Yuna, Riku, and Pain is the third character, who's like a Lulu knockoff, essentially. You have to race to the top of a mountain against, like, your new rivals, who were all stupid characters.
That
like,
was with all the Ronso.
Yeah, they're all fucking stupid characters. So you race up the mountain, and the top of the screen there's this line of like a Yuna face and like your rival's face of who's getting up the mountain quicker. And then you get there, and all the conversation, because it's voice acted. You know what I mean? You're like, cool, like, you know, great, more voice acting. This is fantastic, and it's voice acted so poorly. And I'll never forget that Graham, when I was watching him play that part, got to the top of the mountain, listened to this stupid conversation that happened, paused the game, ejected the disc, put it back in its box, threw it under the bed, and walked out. And he never touched it again. I was like, yeah, that sounds about right, you know?
It's the correct decision to make, Graham. Fair play to you, sir.
It was. They even took out the Blitzball. Like, it became this little thing where you had to coach your team, but you couldn't actually play. You could just recruit the players and then watch them play. So they didn't even have the old assets for Blitzball. They just tossed that aside, like, you know.
Kind of just like, laziness.
The last thing that really I just hated about that was, one, obviously the introduction of Yuna singing and all that kind of stuff. Like, some people like that more quirky style. The other thing, and it should work with any other character, especially Riku or maybe your One Pain, especially if they have job class changes and stuff. But just when Yuna busts out like 2 pistols and it's like pow, 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 pow.
Yeah.
I just like, what is
this? Because
her
her character is so, like, you know, you played through 10, and the whole great thing about it is that she's really serious, and she's all about the religion and being the summoner.
She's really awkward and shy.
Yeah, and shy and stuff. And Titus kind of brings a little bit more fun out in her. But the Yuna that you leave in Final Fantasy X is not the Yuna that arrives in 10.2. She's like this, like, yeah, I'm fun and cool now, and it's so jarring to have
I actually enjoyed it because it's cringy, but it's her trying to be cool.
Yeah.
And I can see that she's still the lame Yuna, only she's now trying to
be
act cooler. And I actually quite enjoyed that. See, it's more true to her character.
Cringe is something I can't do. So, like, you know, like Britain's Got Talent or the X Factor when they were big on TV, I could not watch the early stage auditions where people would come in thinking they were, like, I had to turn the TV off or walk away if my family were watching it. I don't do cringe well at all. And 10.2 is just a big cringe party the entire way through. Like,
it's gross. Yeah, I couldn't even possibly replay that ever. I just wouldn't be willing to mentally go through that.
Yeah, and it's like what's disappointing as well is that you have this sphere system, the dress spheres, and it's the job system essentially back. And they almost do an incredible job with that. But then you've got these really fucking, like, the really stupid jobs, like the songstress and the whatever else, and just the really camp, naff bad job that they put in, because the whole game is like a big cringe naff party where, hey, like, let's just go completely ham on this. And I was looking at this, and I played it. I threw a good bit of it and really leveled up the characters hard and enjoyed a lot of the job systems. But it was such, like, I was playing through this and I was like, I don't, like, this job system is here, and I think that's the only reason I'm playing this game. Like, there was such little enjoyment apart from me training
the new
them,
jobs,
the new job abilities and the new jobs, and that was all I enjoyed from the game. Never finished it, but I mean, I pumped a good few hours into it, and it is saying something, because Final Fantasy as a series is one of my beloved series of all time, but it's got some bad games in there. It's
6 to 10 are flawless, and then before and after that, I don't really mind.
There's got a couple. I mean, like, one is, I mean, it's a game of its time. I played through one, I'd say, like maybe 6 years ago, and it is just a very simple, the first of its kind of RPG. It'd be hard to kind of give that one a lot of, you know, harsh words. But 12 as a story, I think, is okay. As gameplay, it's really bad. 15 was, we're waiting for that for years, and it's not a. I mean, 10 years in development, we got a really crappy
13
game.
all lightning, and 13 was I totally
13.
forgot to take them into account. I didn't play them, so I can't really like.
So, but I even think so. 13 was probably my least favorite mainline. Like, if we're not talking about sequels here, 13 is my least favorite mainline.
Is this here transitioning into your choice?
No. I'm not setting myself up a segue. I mean, I was trying to do the introduction before we started this episode, and I'm all over the place today, so my segues aren't on game. But no, in terms of 13 was really linear, which made it bad. But there were some aspects of it that were still like some. I mean,
7 is also very linear and not bad at all. 13 didn't do a great job of making you feel like you're really playing like a Final Fantasy. You know, anytime you're fighting the enemies, they just kept flying up in the air. And it was just kept being weird.
Just badly designed. But I mean, even then, 10-2 still strikes them out by a long shot in terms of a bad game.
It's when, because I think it was the first to ever, wasn't it the first Final Fantasy game that wasn't a direct number? So when you have a Final Fantasy game that's 10, and rather than go to 11, by saying 10-2, you've already like admitted that it's going to be bad, you know.
But that's the thing, is like 10 ended in such a great way, and I thought it was going to be Yuna's search for Tidus. And the thing, I think the end of the game is she finds a sphere with maybe his voice in it. Like, she never really finds him or discovers.
In the full ending, if you 100% the game, she does find Tidus. Yeah.
And he's alive, or
but it's just pretty much the same ending as Final Fantasy X, except he just shows up for like a split seconds and sees her, and then it ends.
Oh my god!
So you gain maybe 5 seconds of extra footage from Final Fantasy X if you play the entirety of 10-2.
It's just such a pity, because there were games where, like, Final Fantasy games in the series that I think were far more deserving of a sequel than 10. 10, I think, is one of those games that the ending wrapped up really, really well. Final Fantasy games kind of tend to struggle with their endings. I think 10 is one of the strongest.
10 actually has the strongest ending out of all of them.
Yeah. So it was the least deserving of a sequel in terms of, I mean, fucking 8 could have done with a massive, like, you know, retcon of just about everything that happened at the end of that game, but it never got a sequel, like, you know. That's a fine choice, Colm. I hated that game. I wanted to like it, but I hated that game. So yeah, worse in the series. I'll jump to my own, which might surprise you. So Colm, in terms of, you tried to predict a couple of things, you got my honorable mention correct, which was Mass Effect Andromeda. I played it for such a short amount of time that I don't think it's fair for me to actually give it a good go, because I think I had it in my PlayStation 4 for about 5 hours before I ejected the disc, and to this day is the only game I've ever wanted to break over my leg, like actually snap the disc. But I won't get into that, because I didn't like that. I only gave it 4 or 5 hours, so maybe there was some redeeming qualities that I never discovered, but for 5 hours it was shite. No, I'm going to talk about Jak and Daxter as one of my most beloved games ever. When I was young, was Jak and Daxter. I actually got that game before I got a PS2. I think it was my auntie or something like that, without knowing that we didn't have a PlayStation 2 yet, just got me that game for Christmas, and I was like, this looks amazing. But played through Jak and Daxter, and I'd still say it's probably up there, and, you know, I wouldn't say I rate it in my top 10, but like as a real beloved memory of a game that I played. Atmospherically, it's so nice. The design is real. It's such a chill game to play. They brought out the Jak and Daxter collection a couple of years ago that you can get for the PS4, PS5, and I started playing through the first Jak and Daxter. And like, you know, it's a little bit janky, of course. It's a 2001 game, but it is still so much fun. And it's a big old collectathon. That's the entire game. It's just collecting the orbs, the precursors, all that kind of stuff. But it had such a nice just a nice way about it. And the main character, Jak, is the silent protagonist. And I really love that because everything that happened in that game was through his expressions. And graphically at the time, that was a really impressive looking game for 2001. And, you know, I loved Jak being this guy who would he'd be in the background making scared faces or annoyed faces. And that's how he, you know, kind of emoted how he was feeling. And I loved that. And Daxter really shone through because he was kind of talking for both of them. Really simple, lovely game, great ending. And Jak 2 comes around. I was so excited to play that game. So this,
I'm assuming there was voice acting.
Yeah. So no, but it's the whole game, and it's funny because I was like, am I alone in this, or did lots of people hate this game? But I went on to Metacritic just to see. Jak and Daxter, the first one, has a 90 on Metacritic. Jak 2 has an 87,
Jesus.
Which I do not, for not 1 second do I believe it deserved that. But the game starts off, so, you know, Jak and Daxter end. It's a lovely ending. The two of them are dancing down the credits. Just a really
Spoiler.
fun. Oh, sorry, yeah. It's just a really fun way to end a game. And Jak 2 starts off, and it's the craziest thing because the first one is so kid friendly and colorful and nice. But the second one starts off with Jak tied down to in a torture room, and he's being tortured. So he's teleported to this place called, you know, New Haven or Haven City or something with the power that they unlocked at the end of the last game. Mm-hmm. But he's teleported to this place and he's been captured because I guess he's not from there. They can't identify him. And he's just getting tortured for ages. And they're experimenting with dark eco, which is like one of the elemental things from the first game. And they're experimenting with that on him. And he's got all these like big dark eyes and his skin's going white while they're thing. And Daxter comes in to save him and unlocks him. And the first thing that Jak says is, "I'm going to kill whoever it is," in this like completely jarring voice that I never expected Jak to have. And then the whole game is this like GTA wannabe. It's the weirdest thing. Like you go traversing, like the first game is a pure platformer. And you play this entire second game. The whole hub is this place, Haven City, which is the most soulless hub ever. Like, there's loads of people walking around, which I thought was impressive at the time, but there's nothing to do. There's nothing to find. There's nobody to talk to. There's like traffic of these hover ships, and you can drive those around, but they drive like shite. Like they're the worst things to move around. And the game, for some reason, decided to introduce guns. And it's like the thing I loved about Jak and Daxter was that it's like a jump on their head or spin around, Crash Bandicoot style, knock them out, use all those kind of things. And like there's enough games with guns in them. You know, Jak and Daxter shouldn't be one of them. But the whole game is guns, and there's no way to aim them properly. They're janky as hell. And I think I've got a list of things I didn't like from that game. Hang on, let me just have a look at the list of things I didn't like. Oh yeah, so the missions are awful. I remember playing through the missions, and I checked up a YouTube video or two in preparation for this to be like, do I remember it being that bad? There are like 4 types of missions throughout the entire thing that it's just a rinse and repeat. There's like an escort, a time trial, your classic platformer level, and then, I don't know, maybe something else. But it's all the same the entire way. And I remember playing through that game, and as a kid, like I really easily, like that came out 2 years later. So like I'm 12 playing Jak and Daxter, I'm 14 playing Jak 2. And you think me hitting into my teenage years might want a dark, edgy kind of...
you'd be ready for the guns.
Yeah, like with all my, like, you know, my, I hate life kind of hit my teenagers. Even as a kid, I was like, what have they done to you? Like, what? And it takes away so much from like Daxter's character. The fact that you've got this edgy Jak who hates everybody and give me another gun and I'll go out and I'll shoot them all up and I'll hijack this hovercraft and whatever else. Daxter is the kind of like the funny, loopy character that he was in number 1. His humor just falls so flat because the game is going in a real dark kind of more aggressive place. Hated it. And I hated the fact that it got 87 on Metacritic because like the worst thing is that like Jak 3 was just a build on that. So whereas Crash Bandicoot the whole way through, it's the same thing. It's that colorful guy in these colorful worlds doing the same old thing because it works. And Jak and Daxter I thought worked, and they came out with this Jak 2, which then formatted the series going on. With Jak 3 was like that. The spin-off games were all that dark, edgy, kind of in this grim, dark world, and it was like awful. And the game had that classic, you know, when you play some old games where the color scheme, like it was like a horrible green, gray, and just dark color schemes, like just washed over everything, and it just made me so sad. So I think that was the worst game in a series that I've played to date, for sure.
I've never played Jak and Daxter, but that all sounds pretty terrible. But I can understand around 2001 wanting to get out of the platformer industry, because with the Banjos and the Marios, I'm sure it was very
Ratchet
hard
and Clanks and all that kind of stuff,
to keep it going.
Yeah, it just made me so sad. But yeah, that's my take. That's my worst one. We'll get on to when we spin around the table some more, Colm. We'll get on to one that you did nail that I have, but we'll move on to that in a bit. Yeah, we'll talk about that one. Greg, you got any other ones?
Okay, for the second one, and you kind of teed it up there a little, because I was thinking, what's one of the best video game series of all time that isn't Final Fantasy or Zelda? I was like, the Grand Theft Auto series.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
So for mine, I have to go with, even though Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2, I didn't play massively, but for what they are great games. Just top down, you hijack a car and you go around for 20 minutes until you get caught and you pass the controller to your friend. You know, GTA 3 had absolutely Liberty City and PS2 graphics. I was convinced was a cutscene. I was so convinced it wasn't real that I was telling my friend that like that box art on the back of the box, that's fake. That's all cutscenes. There's no way it looks like that. So it was the biggest surprise of my entire life when I saw what GTA 3 looked like.
Yeah.
But Vice City then went back to the 80s, introduced a load of great music. You had like multiple cities. You could buy assets. You could run the city. You could take over it bit by bit.
Yeah.
And then by GTA 4, they went back to Liberty City. They removed all planes that made San Andreas so absolutely amazing. Sorry, San Andreas is my favorite game of the series. That's when they gave you 3 cities and a massive countryside, you know, so you could transition to all these towns. You know, you were driving from city to city, and it took a while. You know, it wasn't just one New York looking city that's just grids everywhere and everything looks the same. You know?
One of my favorite memories from San Andreas, which made me realize it was such a great game, was when you get locked up or thrown out of the first city and you end up in the countryside. I'll never forget, like, your character wakes up and you walk around and you're in the countryside, and I got into a tractor and it was the country music. It's like, some kind of wonderful, here she is.
He's just like,
and I was like, wow, I am literally in rural, wherever it is.
You've been kicked out and it just takes off. I don't want to talk about San Andreas too much, but that is my favorite of the series. But after San Andreas came GTA 4. What a step down. And I know, you know, the thing in America with the towers, whatever, blah, 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 but you should never remove planes from a video game that specializes in planes, fucking cars and boats and all that type of stuff. My favorite mission in San Andreas was like this one mission where like you were on a runway and you were just like packing up, ready to take out for the other day, but this gang of thugs start robbing you, and they have their own plane and they're stealing all your resources from the runway, and you spot them and you chase after them on the motorbike, and they take off from their plane while throwing boxes at you, and you're dodging them on your motorbike, and then you drive up the ramp of the plane that they're about to take on, kill them all in the plane, then you parachute out of the plane.
Yeah.
I was like, that is the single greatest mission I've ever played of any game in my life, and that was insanely good. And then for GTA 4 to just take out all helicopters, all planes, all everything, to give me Liberty City again, I was just like,
and the
no,
protagonist in GTA 4.
And the Russian dude. We don't even...
Nico Bellic.
Yeah,
Can I also quickly just say
of course.
GTA 4 was on my list.
Nice. Well,
I should have done the prediction thing myself.
I was just waiting for a chance for Craig to calm down a little. I'll just be like, by the way, I also have that here written down.
Because he was, I think, one of the most boring protagonists.
Yeah, he's just described as Eastern European as far as I know. He's not given like a country. You meet his uncle Roman or his cousin Roman. And it like, Joe, we were talking about San Andreas, and briefly in San Andreas you can do the whole dating system.
Yeah.
Well, this has that too, and it's like, oh yeah, you get to bring them to the bar.
But like, even in San Andreas, I just wanted to like take them out on a couple of dates just so I could watch the sex animation in the car, so it was like bouncing up and down. I just wanted to see that, you know? Who didn't?
You can get prostitutes in that game. You don't need to like.
I know, but it's way more fun if it was legit, you know?
Nice.
Fair, yeah, okay. There's also, I think, there's one girl that's like a dominatrix, and I think there's like a special cutscene if you.
Yeah, there's a few for that. You know, I tried them all.
Yeah. So anyway,
nice.
But, like, so another
but
thing,
some you had to make yourself really fat to make them attracted to you. You know, all the girls were really like
had certain
tastes, you know.
Much like real life, huh?
Much like real life, yeah. So it was a hard job to do. So you had to earn that, you know.
Absolutely. Well, look, in 4 it was just an absolute step down, and I think what they did is they just aimed for more realism, because even like how the cars handled, like if you remember, like if you went from Vice City San Andreas, like you could just whip around corners,
like crazy taxi type of stuff.
Yeah, if you go over a ramp, you don't know what's going to happen. happen. If you get a little spin on you, you're just going to helicopter around. Like, who knows what's going to go down.
Kill frenzy bonus might just pop up, you know? Like.
But the steering, as far as I can still remember, was really harsh in Grand Theft Auto 4. That, like, if you're driving fast, a lot of the cars, you're like, oh, maybe this car is just terrible. And it's like, no, it's just the mechanics for driving in this game are just crap. Like,
and GTA 4 was the first PlayStation 3 GTA, right?
Yes, because San Andreas was definitely on too.
Yes, so it was the console leap, you know.
Yeah,
and I think now the difference between San Andreas and GTA 5 is just fucking crazy. But the difference between San Andreas and GTA 4 is Liberty City. It's just GTA 3 again.
But that's what I mean. The kind of design they went for was similar to that, like a slightly improved GTA 3 in its style. And even then, I wasn't even like that impressed by it because it was that big leap, you know. I think the PS2 to PS3 was a big leap, not the biggest generational leap, but looking at that from a graphical perspective, it just seemed kind of lazy.
The game reviewed very well, but I was just completely unimpressed. I was just like, well, if I can't get a boat, if I can't get a plane, if I can't get a jetpack or a fucking helicopter with turret guns, then I've nothing to look forward to, because that's always the end game type of stuff that you look forward to getting.
The hunter helicopter from the army and everything.
And that's the best thing about those Grand Theft Auto games for me, is getting all the high-tech gear and then going on massive like killing sprees, or just, you know, having fun flying around blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
But GTA 4 just ruined all that with its realism.
And it's got I think it's probably got like the least memorable characters that you do missions for. Like when I think of like GTA 3 and San Andreas and Vice City,
I remember a lot of the characters.
I can picture a lot of the people that you worked for or did side missions for. I couldn't name you a single person from GTA 4.
Yeah. Some of the ones in 4 reappear in 5, but you have to like have played 4 and remember them vaguely.
I didn't even. I mean, I played through 5 and I didn't think any of them were familiar.
I think it's on the agents, like the I don't know what division they're with, but in 5 especially, the only agents that you work for is Trevor, and you torture people. I think that guy or that agent is in 4 as well.
Very good, yeah.
But yeah, no, like I even got a soft spot for 4 on my heart, because when that came out, I was probably like 16. And I remember going to, at the time I had your old ID. It was like a cancelled passport, said I was 21. So I went to the GameStop launch at midnight, and I randomly ran into one of my friends there from school, Emma Higgins. And like we just went separately, and I was with them, one of my other good mates, Mark, and we were just outside waiting to get the game. And I don't know how I arranged it. I either had called in sick or something was happening, but I was not in school the next day, and spent the entire night like just playing online, like, or not online, but you know what I mean? Like just got
going
the game
through
home, played it for like 4 or 5 hours, got up for school the next day, didn't go to school, just kept playing it. And like the whole thing about that was just like, you know, I'm 16, I've never really done this with a game, and it's the new Grand Theft Auto. You've just come from San Andreas. So like, even with all that fun nostalgia I can look back on, comparing it to any of the other games within that series, it is by far the weakest. And I don't really want to like shit on like Grand Theft Auto 1, because I never really played that one, but look, that's the start of a series. Grand Theft Auto 2, the top down game, I actually had that game and loved it. And
that's the thing as well, it's you know, although it wouldn't be anything to blow your mind graphically or storyline wise, it was at Rockstar's at a really good point in their games where all of their games were just so much fun to play. Like that top down GTA 2 was so much fun to play.
That was amazing.
They could do no wrong, but
apart from GTA 4,
you know, by bowing to the Western media being like, oh, we can't have planes because the tower blew up a few years ago, just fucking nonsense. Immediately I'm like, well, you've lost my money, and I didn't buy it. I think Colm bought it.
Yeah,
so I played it on
his after his midnight purchase. Yeah,
but I only played it for about 10 hours and then I gave up. So I'm very happy you were able to fill in some of the blanks, because I did not really know what that game was about, other than it not having planes.
Yeah, I like the way that's your thing. No, there's no planes. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Games have to have planes. Yep. But yeah, it is. I think that's the thing where there's a massive. Anytime you get a massive step back from its predecessor, it doesn't make any sense. Like Arkham Origins, you have the tools there to just make things better and continue on building on them. And I think theme-wise, it looks as though games that fail to improve on its predecessor kind of lend to.
You have to always try, at least try to innovate. You know, just show us you're doing something new, that it wasn't just a paycheck.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's, well, I mean, because that can go one of two ways, because Jak 2 tried to innovate in loads of ways and I hated every single one of them, like, you know. So was GTA 4 going to be your next?
I probably would have brought that up because I wasn't expecting him to go for GTA 4.
Look at him with his predictions. Straight out of left field. That's how I roll.
Like, another one I was kind of thinking of there in the kind of same vein as not taking into account the first game in a series, because like obviously the first game is always going to be visually the weaker or maybe mechanically not always as great. But rather than go for this pick as Assassin's Creed, I'm going to go for the one that I feel like didn't play as good as any of the others, didn't build enough compared to all of the other ones in that series, and that is Assassin's Creed 3.
I knew he was going to say it.
Yeah. Where you play as Connor and you are like, I don't know, you are the son of a Templar, I'm going to say.
Yep.
Basically you get taken in by the assassins and like lots of stuff kind of happens in it. There are some things that are fun in that game. Like it's the first time you can kind of climb trees and use them to sneak into bases. But there is so little after that. Like they introduce ships as well, but not really ship combat.
But you're out in the woods and there's like animals and stuff like that. That was always pretty cool. Like you could go hunting because you were like a Native American.
You've played Red Dead Redemption 2. That's a way
that
more
wasn't
fun.
out at the time.
Yeah. No, but like the hunting in it is just, it was not good enough for like the entire game. Like it's an interesting perspective to take it on, but like what immediately followed that game was Black Flag, and Black Flag had
it's amazing, and
Black Flag is the greatest of the series in my opinion.
But here's the thing, right? Is Black Flag so good because 3 was so bad?
Yes.
Like, did that help like people's enjoyment of Black Flag?
Assassin's Creed 3, you have to credit Assassin's Creed 3 with the success of Black Flag, because the ship that you use, like those ship mechanics were in
developed.
Assassin's Creed 3.
Not the
you
battle
just
mechanics. It was just steering and stuff.
No, but you could fire. There was like moments where there was ship to ship combat, but like you couldn't like travel around on your ship. You just were on a set path. Like it was a linear mission, and then you had to blow up the boats. But all the same mechanics were in play, and they clearly maybe had to ditch that early on in the development of the game, because they took all of that and made it the core part of Black Flag, which is such a great game.
And you know, it is funny because they needed to do something, and I guess 3 was trying it, but I still think Assassin's Creed, like the very first one, is still one of my favorite in the series.
No, it's too dated, man.
So no, it is now, but there was
guys, can we not talk about Assassin's Creed 1 so much?
Why? Is that on your list?
That is my number one choice. So, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say it now because I want the argument. Assassin's Creed 1 is the worst of the entire series. Like I just said, Assassin's Creed 3 introduced the woods, the cool muskets, the axes. It had loads of great little things going for it. Assassin's Creed 1 introduced climbing. But other than climbing, like... there's no money. You can't buy anything. You can just go around to Jerusalem and like these other couple of places, and literally, other than assassinate your target, there is nothing you can do.
So this is why I was going to talk about 1, is why 1 was one of my favorites.
No, 1 is the worst
because it has one of my favorite video game memories of all time. And you know, when I was there sitting, and it was myself and my 2 brothers, and they were watching me play. And 1 is the one with the Templars, right?
Well, there's Templars in all of them, but it initially introduced the Templars. Yeah.
So there was a scene where, and there was like a bonus thing for killing all the Templars throughout.
Of course, but in order to kill all the Templars, all you have to do is stand there, wait for them to attack you, and press square. That's how you beat every enemy.
But it was so, and again, I know, like in comparison to the Assassin's Creed that came thereafter, I totally get why you could say 1 is the weakest. But for me, playing that game when there is no other Assassin's Creed to consider. I remember that I was at a camp, the enemy camp, and there was a Templar in there. And at this camp, there was a waterfall and like a little bit of a shallow lake or whatever. And I was playing that and fighting the Templar, and it was like, you know, the lighting for this PS2 game, whatever, was amazing. And I was having this amazing fight where I was blocking as best I could this Templar, and the 2 of us were fighting in this lake. And the great thing about that game was when the Templar entered the fray, all the other enemies stood back.
Yeah, that's like the final boss, like of the game.
Yeah,
and then you fight the woman then shortly after.
No, but like maybe it's 2 I'm thinking of.
But that moment you're talking about is the very end of the first game.
But
yeah.
like like when he was attacking me and I didn't block it in time, and the force was so much that it knocked me down. Like I fell down into the water, big splashes, like picking myself up
in the mud.
The
That is the fight. That is the final boss of the first game. So your one good moment is the end game boss of the very first game.
Right,
like
so
you know, if that's your argument, Darren.
But
look, Assassin's Creed. The reason why I say it's so bad is because it's built so much, but what it's done is forgotten to make a video game. Like it's built this great world. It looks great, and the climbing is amazing. I couldn't believe when I was playing it for the first time that like I could go on any surface, and he could realistically grab in real like he wasn't just like in Zelda, you know, you're going up. He's going left, he's shimmying left and right. He's actually aiming for the cracks in the buildings. So I was like, that is amazing. I'm sure that took lots of work and they tried their asses off. But around that, they forgot to make a video game. Like if you tried to run up a building and then you kill someone, if the guards see you, they'll be after you and up that building as quickly as you were within 2 seconds.
That's true.
And if you try to get away, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes. You've traveled about 300, 400 meters before they've lost sight of you. And then you just manage to jump into a tent. And then it takes another 60 seconds for them to stop chasing you. And by then, your mission is on the other side of the map. And you're like, oh my God, that took ages.
In fairness,
like, it has so many flaws.
That does ring a bell in terms of the trying to escape was a definite
like not even that, but like they made one of the only ways you can hide is to sit in a bench where 2 other people are sitting. But if they're chasing you, because everyone's panicking, anyone sitting on the bench gets up and runs away. So you can't actually sit on the bench to escape the guards. Like they must not have tested the game because it has so many glaring flaws like that.
Yeah,
I mean, to the point where even all the side missions, you go in, you get a guard and he's like, okay, I need you to do this mission. You have to follow that guy. And if he sees you, you have to start again. You know, and then that's the mission. You just have to pick a pocket of the guy, or you have to sit in a bench and listen in on the conversation. And then that's it. There's nothing else to do.
That's all Assassin's Creed games, though.
No, Assassin's Creed 2 was... And amazing. Why everyone considers it the best game in the series is because it introduced so much more. Poison darts, money to buy things.
Thank you, yeah. And so can I also just like draw back to why I think 3 is the worst? Because you're not wrong about 1. Like, that's all true. However, it is the very first in the series that went on and on and on.
Yeah.
So, like... When it came out, the visuals to that game were absolutely breathtaking, amazing. Do you know when you could like join up with other monks and like walk through?
Yeah.
Even the idea that you could do that at the time was like, oh my God. And yeah, like you could throw a coin on the ground and beggars.
No,
like,
that's in Assassin's Creed 2.
Is it? All right, well, whatever.
There's no money in Assassin's Creed 1.
So it did have, though, Assassin's Creed 1 still did have the eagle things that you could dive off, right?
Yeah.
It had to, it introduced, and much to the detriment of all video games everywhere, it introduced the mapping system that we all use today in every other open world game.
So, as you can now just say, as the first in the series, pretty groundbreaking, went on to have 2. 2 had so many different like spin-offs and whatever, and I liked all of them. Even as far as like, I don't know what the last one is, but let's say it's Revelations. You could basically get other assassins, train them up, send them off, dispatch them on missions, do all this amazingly cool shit.
Yeah.
And then we got 3. And all that shit went away. You couldn't have a glider anymore. I don't know if there was a grapple hook in 2, but basically 3 just took all the fun shit of 2 and got rid of it. And they're like,
no, but like
you were a hunter.
Those spin-offs of 2 were like expansions that they're kind of like extra content. They're not really like it's Assassin's Creed 2 and it's Assassin's Creed 3. And yeah, we got a load of cool things in between Assassin's Creed 2 and 3, which bridged the gap, meaning you weren't going to get as big of an impact when Assassin's Creed 3 came along because we've already had 2 additional games to fill in for all that type of stuff.
Well, then my comparison would be that Assassin's Creed 2 on the series is San Andreas and Assassin's Creed 3 is Grand Theft Auto 4.
No, but Assassin's Creed 1 is Hogwarts Legacy. It's completely wrecked in terms of like making a video game. It's completely incomplete. I bought Assassin's Creed 1 at the same time. Because this is my number 1, so this will be my last time to speak. So like Assassin's Creed came out at the same time as Modern Warfare, one of the greatest video games ever made. Like, and I bought Assassin's Creed 1, whereas my best friend at the time, Ken, was like, oh, I'm gonna buy Call of Duty, and then we can swap when we're finished. Like, and like I remember it being like, oh man, yesterday I climbed the building and it was pretty cool, and then I leapt off of it. And he was like, oh, I did this deadly assassination mission where my friend was shot and I had to like defend him for 20 minutes. And I was like, yeah. And then I jumped down from another building and I had nothing. Anytime he told me a great story, I had no new story to tell him because there was only 2 death animations in Assassin's Creed 1. You stab them in the back or you do the leap.
Yeah. So no,
that's it.
I'll give you that, right? But I and listen, this is personal preference. So you're completely allowed to think that Assassin's Creed 1 is the worst game.
Mm-hmm.
But the comparison, I have trouble with the comparison between Assassin's Creed 1 and Modern Warfare. They're two
There's no comparison. There's a great game, and then a game that reviewed very well, but was fundamentally not a video game. It looked
so
amazing.
different.
Like, granted, Assassin's Creed, if you want to look at a game, it's great. If you want to play a game, it's nothing. It's a fucking 4 out of 10. It's terrible.
It's so harsh to Assassin's Creed what you're doing here, because Modern Warfare is probably the greatest in the Call of Duty games. It's so harsh.
But Assassin's Creed 2 is every bit as good as Modern Warfare. Like, you know,
in
that
all
is
its
the
different
best of
ways.
this series, you know? And they put the work in, and because they took what they had from the first one, and then they added the gameplay mechanics for the second one. So they got it right the second time. Granted, I have to go, it was a brave project to take on, but they forgot to make a game when they made that game.
Yeah, there's some bits. So can I say, just based on the fact that both you guys have a very, you know, in your priority, in your the last announcements that you guys make, it's both of you picked an Assassin's Creed game. Is it fair to say that as a series is not a very good series?
It is.
I think it's a very good series, which is why one just shows me that
What's the most recent one?
how great it got.
Valhalla.
Oh yeah.
I completed Valhalla and thought it was fantastic.
Really?
Probably my favorite since Black Flag.
Because it had a DLC that was meant to do with the Vikings
in
in Ireland.
Yeah.
Was that
Unfortunately, I burned out because I'd already completed the game,
Yeah.
and by the time the DLC came out, I had moved on
You
to
were
other
done.
things. But like, I was playing it for over 100 hours, and if you just do the main story, it takes 100 hours. Like, I did no side missions.
Yeah.
But it's really good. Great voice acting, great storytelling, good characters. I was like, this is very good. Like, you know?
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed 3 is definitely a bad Assassin's Creed game. But Assassin's Creed is not a video game. Assassin's Creed 1.
It's such a harsh take for what was essentially the building block for the games that
I know,
you
with
love.
a building block, I can't play that. You know?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, yeah, nice. I guess I mean, that's all your options, Colm, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'd like to throw just 2 honorable mentions.
Go for it.
Normally you will probably do them at the start, but 2 honorable mentions because I didn't get any reveal because we went straight into Assassin's Creed.
I'm so
So
sorry.
yeah, no, it's all good. It's cool. I'm just gonna go leave and take my ball home.
I couldn't just sit and watch you both talk about Assassin's Creed and then talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, no,
So I had
reasonable.
to.
So I just quickly jump into them. I don't want to talk to them for too long, but 2 honorable mentions would be, for me anyway, massive fan of the Fallout series, and Fallout 76, when that came out, it was like a MMO, online only, like no NPCs, no quests, they're all voice recordings, the most soulless game.
It was
and
completely
crash
devoid
that
of
ever came
life,
out.
yeah.
And I was like, when Fallout 3 came out, I loved it. Fallout New Vegas, it didn't review as well, but like I've gone back and played that, and it's actually a really good game. Had some game breaking bugs at the time, but I think that's kind of gotten fixed. Fallout 4, I still enjoyed, and I was like, okay, cool, they got a new Fallout game coming out, and they like, even all the like stuff behind the like release packaging and stuff, they were like gonna like give you all these people bags and like merchandise, and it all just like went tits up. They like screwed everybody over, got sued in the process, released a game that was absolutely appalling, not even like to any kind of AAA standards, not even an indie developer should get away with that.
That was so sad for, I mean, I wasn't a big Fallout fan. I never really played any of the games, but that was such a sad thing for the fans, because it was like the idea of a Fallout MMO was so enticing for so many people, and it was so poorly made. So
absolutely gross. And then the second one, and this is just more of a little dig at them because they fucked it up, but Star Wars Battlefront 2, the new one, because they recreated a game that should have been amazing, and the one thing that was really fun about that game was having a campaign mode where you could play as like with your friend in a
the
co-op.
Galactic Conquest mode, that was the best.
And you could just like, you could have ship to ship battles. You
Yeah.
could then like play with your friends on the same team or as on a separate team. And this was just like, we'll just have like an online shooter where you can just like join on up.
We did the remakes and remasters episode the other week, didn't we? I can't believe that I never thought to pick.
I would definitely remake Battlefront again.
Absolutely.
And do it with
Battlefront
a
2 is
do it the way it was originally with the other studio that made it.
Such a fun game. Do you remember there was a Mos Eisley Cantina, and you could just play on that level, and on that level specifically,
just heroes.
You could just play as heroes. So you had access to Palpatine,
Yeah.
Han Solo,
Maul.
Boba Fett, Jango
It was
Fett,
a cool little
Maul.
mode you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
So good.
amazing, and
Yeah.
you could just put that to like unlimited lives and maybe a time limit,
And just have a laugh.
How could they not have a mode where you could just play as the hero
Heroes.
characters a
So
lot like
that remake that they just threw out? That
But when you say
pissed me off
Battlefront
more
2,
than I
you
want to throw
mean
it out.
the first one of that franchise, right?
No, I mean the new one that they remade and just didn't.
But they made 2.
So they made there's Battlefront 1 and 2, and then they did Battlefront 1 and 2 again, but they were nothing like the PlayStation 2 era games. Different studios, EA or whoever made it.
The ones that had microtransactions that got them sued.
And they had the same...
Yeah, but there's 2 games that did that. Are you specifically talking about the second one?
Yeah, well,
I would blame the first one because they could have done all that then.
So the second one didn't improve on it.
That's true.
And for me, the second one, because the first one didn't have the space battles, sure it didn't.
I don't think it did, but it still had loads of cool things like in Geonosis. You can still get a load of cool like vehicles.
The vehicles,
you know?
The droid, the cat. There were 4 different armies,
and that was the most amazing thing. Was I don't know which Jedi hero you could have when you play Geonosis, but my favorite thing to do was
you had Dooku, Darth Maul, and Grievous.
But for the good guys.
Oh, for the good guys. But you mean the clones?
The clones.
Do you know the Geonovians were the bad guys?
Yeah, no, but I mean playing for the good guys.
Oh, on that level, it was Yoda, I think it was.
So I think it was Yoda. So my favorite thing to do was to get into, so I'd run, I'd leg it to the command center, man in the middle, and just run in there and just... Because that was like a spawn point as well for a lot of the enemies. I just go in there and just rack up. Because the thing was,
it's so fun.
The heroes died so quickly. Like, because your lifespan, if you got shot, you'd just be gone. That was it. You might not get the chance for ages. So I used to go in there, just how long can I last?
Because you're up against enemy AI, and they're literally like the stormtroopers, just a white grunt. So they go down with one hit.
Yeah,
and they're just wrecking.
You're just wrecking the whole place.
Oh, it's so good.
So I guess we'll finish on. I'll give I had kind of 1 or 2 more, but what I'll do is I'll give a kind of an obvious one is that I'll do as an honorable mention because I'm a Kingdom Hearts fan, which I think people know at this stage. Yeah, I know, right? Chain of Memories was on my list.
Is that the card game?
That's the card game one. Yeah.
Way to go, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, when I had thought what Darren would say, I was like, any handheld Kingdom Hearts game, just delete all of them.
So this is the thing about it is, and I think I'm a fan as well, I'm a fan, but I'm not one of those diehard fans who tries to shit on anybody who complains with the games, because the games have a lot of problems, narratively speaking as well. It's so bad.
All those problems would go away if the handhelds didn't exist.
See, this is the thing. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe I hope so. If they didn't
would.
Exist. But like Dream Drop Distance in the 3DS was a really exciting game with a really exciting ending. I felt like I was playing a Kingdom Hearts 2 again. The PSP version had a great cast. I enjoyed that.
You
one
liked
too.
Dream Drop Distance?
I loved.
Where you had to do the same missions twice, just with Sora and then Riku.
Yeah.
How dare they?
I got to play as Riku.
Add double content to
you
that
went to
nonsense.
some different places, you know. No, but I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. But no, Chain of Memories, because between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, there was such a long development. Like, they took a while between, well, not as long as 2 to 3, but like
enough
as a
to
fan,
ruin the story in every way.
Yeah, they had these things in the meantime that they'd introduced, and I was like, oh, here's a Chain of Memories Kingdom Hearts, and I came across that completely by accident. I went into GameStop at the time and just saw like this Game Boy Advance box. You know, like that's when they were all out and you could play Game Boy Advance games, and it was that deadly kind of Tetsuya Nomura artwork of kind of Sora holding these like kind of these cards in his hand, and I was like, this looks cool as hell. How wrong I was. Yeah, really bad game, really hard game, completely soulless in terms of the thing that made the games great now was just in card form, and it was awful and just too hard. I never finished it because you had to play through the entire game as Sora, and there was this last battle, and I never had enough cards in stock to defeat them. I'd always get so close, but just reloading your cards just became a really challenging thing to do the more you did it, and I could never finish it, so I never got to play through it as Riku, never got the storyline, what the hell was meant to happen, and then Kingdom Hearts 2 arrived, and I'm like, why is Sora asleep? why am I playing as this guy called Roxas? What the hell happened? And that was like a really challenging thing to kind of get through. So yeah, that was my thing. But the game I do want to talk about in kind of some detail. I won't go into it too much, but I'm a big fan of the Super Mario series of video games.
Nice, yeah.
But particularly, like, I love the likes of Odyssey and Galaxy and everything, but I'm a...
Great one to end on. Biggest franchise ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not that these, like, I don't think there really is... I mean, there's some like bad sports ones. I mean, there's like a baseball one that's
loads of
bad.
Terrible like variations of the Mario core Mario games. There's nothing but gems.
Yeah, and it's the core ones I kind of want to talk about. I'm a big 2D platformer Mario. I love that. When Mario Maker 2 came out, I'd always play the levels that were in the style of the old 2D ones. I played through Super Mario Bros. 3 every year. I love it. But Super Mario Bros. 2 as the weakest in a franchise.
But that wasn't even a Super Mario Brothers game. You know the story about that, right? How it was a completely different game, and then they reskinned it at the last moment. There was a documentary about it. I think, Colm, did you put that on for us at one point? There's definitely a documentary series which you should look up that shows it's something when they were talking about Super Mario Brothers Trade. Remember that video game? documentary series on Netflix going through like
Oh
the
yes,
Sega.
our games.
One
or
of the
whatever it
episodes
yeah.
is on the NES and how Super Mario Brothers 3 was Super Mario Brothers was a massive success. And during the wait for Super Mario Brothers 3, like people couldn't get enough, so they just reskinned the game and then called it Super Mario Brothers 2.
Because that's the thing, it plays so, like the thing I love
Which
about...
was a good game, it's just not a Mario Brothers game.
Yeah, and it's a good game for reasons that I don't appreciate Mario for. So like you could play as Luigi and Toad and Peach, and they all have different styles in terms of how they move and stuff. Like Luigi could jump higher and everything.
That was cool though. I remember that.
All those things were nice, but it was so, what's the word I'd use here? It was so slippery, I guess, as a game. So like I love the first Mario Brothers. I love Mario Brothers 3 because they're stiff scientific platformers. Like you have to like there's maths behind the jumps and everything like that. It's so
you didn't
precision.
Appreciate that as a kid. Come on.
No, but I love those games. Yeah, I mean I play it every year now and I appreciate it now.
See.
But I even tried to recently because we were playing through that game. I was like, maybe I should give it because I had a problem with that, and I did have a problem with it when I was younger. I found it very, very challenging compared to 1 or 3. Okay. And I now know why that is, because it is such a slippery game.
It's because it's not a Mario game. That's the real answer.
which is now true or whatever. But it changed so many things, and it's that first boss as well. I just could not get my head around. What's her name? Who shoots the eggs out? Birdo. Yeah, Birdo. Who's kind of like people love Birdo now, but at the time I fucking hated Birdo.
Just released in Mario Kart 8. You know, she's led a great career despite.
Birdo is my favorite character
origins.
in Mario Party as well. I love Birdo, but in that sense, I remember coming up to her as the first boss, and she was shooting eggs at me, and I, of course, I'm playing as Luigi, like no doubt about it. But because of his jump, there's no precision in it. Everything is so floaty in that game that I was like, this is just way.
You can't.
Way
you
too
probably
hard.
have. I think you have to land on the egg
You
to then throw it back at her, right?
Pick it up
so
and
you
then throw at her.
can't time the jump. You're just jumping over it because you're going up
exactly.
too high.
Yeah,
I get you.
And it was just that thing, and I think that made the games. I mean, for some people, it's probably a really nice way to play it without that precision type thing. But my favorite thing about Mario platformers was the precision, and I think 2. Like if you play 1 and if you play 3, 2 is this weird soapy slippery kind
Big
of
time,
like really and a very different, as you said, it was never meant to be a Mario game obviously now, but yeah, I just couldn't get behind that. And I would say, and it's funny because again looking at the ratings for it, like it's an 80% pretty much across the board in most places. Like people loved it. I didn't do anything for me, and from my perspective the weakest, not the weakest Mario game out there, but the weakest Mario game in those old 2D platformers. I think there's the things.
I think it's the weakest, as well.
Yeah. So that's it. The worst games in a series. And if you think that we missed any, that you think there's worse games.
Oh, we missed loads. There's only 3 of us here.
Yeah, there's tons of really bad games out there. You can let us know at thegiftofgamingpodcast@gmail.com. If you like the content and you want to listen to more, check out our Patreon or patreon.com/thegiftofgaming. And you can check for updates, which I never really do, but follow us if you want on Twitter at giftofgamingpod. And you can find out updates there. And in the meantime, if you like what you hear, please, it would do us a great favor if you could just tell a friend about the podcast and tell them to give it a listen. We'd really appreciate it. Colm, Craig, the Nolan brothers, thank you so much for joining me on what was a good episode. I'm glad we're so predictable, Colm. I'm glad you can read us like a book.
In fairness, I didn't think I was going to be as predictable. I was like, I'm going to definitely get 1 or 2 of either of you, and then when you both, like what you would say, Grand Theft Auto 4 and Assassin's Creed, I specifically sidestep Assassin's Creed 1 to go for 3. So we were
I
all
specifically
in
sidestep 3. I thought about it long and hard because that was my number 1 choice, and I was like, no, you know what, Assassin's Creed 1
didn't
have a video game in it, and that's what's needed.
It was a showcase,
folks. It's a pleasure. Thank you again, Darren, for having us.
Yeah,
it was great fun.
And to our listeners out there, keep enjoying the gift that is gaming. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.